of all, let me thank the organizing committee, Salman Javed Saab, for giving me this opportunity to discuss a very important topic. I also want to give a disclaimer that the views that I represent are my own and don't reflect the policy and the thought process of the institution that I work for. So let's start with the constituency politics. So overall, I think my presentation is based on two parts. So the first part is basically about the constituency politics in India, and the second part is the BJP's narratives. Let's start with the first slide. Can you please move on?
Full screen.
Yes.
Full screen.
आप start करेंगे.
So
आप ले लेना so that you can change it yourself. It will be easier.
सलमान भाई मुझे दे दीजिएगा, मैं इसको आगे सोचिए. So there are several ways to look at the constituency politics of India. We can at Indian Study Center we are dealing with the domestic politics for quite a long time. So we thought that we should make it more simplified version for our audience. So that's why we tried to focus on the data-based analysis of the Indian domestic politics. And in overall scenario, we have found that there are three categories of these constituencies, of the 543 constituencies. So the first category is about 100 seats, where BJP will not be able to secure these seats. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm not saying it because I have a prejudice for BJP or for the Modi, but it is based on the data. For past two elections, 2014 and 2019, BJP has not been able to secure a single seat in these constituencies, especially in the south. And if you look at the vote margin, you will find out that BJP candidate was somewhere between 4th position to 7th position, and they had secured a relatively vote share around 7% to 11%. And in Indian politics, in a constituency, you require at least 30% or above vote share to secure a constituency. So going forward, you can't actually go beyond from 11% to 38% in 5 years. So in first category, you won't find out a single seat for BJP. Next slide. So category 2. In this category, there are 200 seats. Again, here the primary contenders are BJP and Congress. Next slide. And if you look at the map, I'm sorry I'm not showing the Kashmir because that's my prejudice, because I consider it as part of Pakistan or disputed territory, so I'm not showing it publicly as part of Indian map. So if you look at this second category, you will find out that the so-called Hindi belt is there where BJP is primarily very much strong. That is Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, Rajasthan. And here the primary contenders are BJP and Indian National Congress. So in 2014, BJP secured 112 seats out of 200 seats. But in 2019, because of Pulwama factor and Balakot factor, actually they improved this number and they secured 182 seats out of 200 seats. So here it was an overwhelming majority where it actually helped them to secure a very convincing majority here against Indian National Congress. Next slide. Then we have third category here, and this is I think the largest category because of in terms of numbers. So here there are 243 seats, and here the competition will be between BJP and the regional parties. Next slide. And of course, this red color basically shows these regional parties, where basically you will find out that the local leaders are primarily contesting election against the BJP. And here the electoral dynamics are also very different. Here they don't have to find out a national leader or national politics. So primarily they focus on local issues and very smaller issues at the local level, and then the local politics actually works here. So next slide. So what we have in as a conclusion here. So there are several conclusions that we can draw here. Number one, the first two categories are largely predictable, while the third category is not predictable as such. Because in third category, BJP secured 94 seats in 2014, and this figure slightly improved in 2019 with 118 seats. So this shows that there is a significant resistance by the regional parties against the BJP. Number two, we can also draw the conclusion that primarily BJP's rise is the primary victim of BJP's rise is Indian National Congress. So in 2014, they secured 44 seats. In 2019, they secured slightly improved version of 52 seats. But here, if they can improve themselves in the Hindi belt and can secure somewhere between 90 to 100 seats, then it will be very difficult for BJP to get into power again. And another factor that I was want to mention here, that the margin in the third category is quite interesting and quite huge, because 118 seats out of 243 seats in 2019. So it means that still there are more than 50% seats where BJP can improve its overall number, and through alliance politics with the regional parties as well as regular visits in South recently, they tried to garner their support in this third category. Now, coming towards the next phase or the second part of my presentation. The next, please. Now, next week we will be able to see who is going to be win. But keeping in view the past 10 years of BJP's narrative, and even in current phase, we can say that BJP is still very much in a position, with the help of NDA, of course, to form government. Somewhere between 300 to 330 seats they might achieve this time. So we thought that we should look at some important factors related to Prime Minister Modi and BJP overall, like how they look at different issues. So there are so many issues that they are talking about the past 3 or 4 years. But here we have just focused on few things like development, opposition, anti-Pakistan, anti-China, POK, IWT. I'm deliberately using this word POK because you are going to listen and read this thing, this term POK in international media and national media as well, especially in the Indian media in next few weeks and years ahead, because of the reasons that I will show it again. Next slide, please. So we thought that we should look at that how they actually look at these issues. So if you look at development, for example, so they have tried to focus on the development itself. So infrastructure development and economic development and women empowerment. These are the issues that they are trying to highlight for past 3 or 4 years. And naturally, last year and this year, they are basically speaking again and again about the development and their achievements. And why not? Because after 10 years, they have to present something about their achievements. So they are regularly discussing or presenting their achievements in public about development. Then opposition, they are criticizing opposition. They are trying to equate them with Muslims, with Muslim League, and trying to garner support from the Hindu nationalists. Then they are also putting some allegations of corruption allegations, as well as some criticism on the dynastic politics. But again, you will find out that the criticism on opposition is quite high. I have to make a distinction between anti-Pakistan and POK, because initially we thought that we should club it in a single paragraph or a single graph. But then we thought that in anti-Pakistan, when they talk about anti-Pakistan, they talk about very differently. They talk about terrorism, they talk about political instability, economic instability. They talk about our weak economy and overall. But when they talk about the POK and Indus Water, they talk about very different fashion. They talk about revocation of Indus Water Treaty. They talk about taking back POK. So that's why we have put this number in a different form. And then anti-China. Interestingly, in 2020 that was quite high of this anti-China sentiment, obviously because of Galwan incident. But after that, you will find out a very convincing reduction in this anti-China rhetoric. So in this election, there is no anti-China rhetoric as well, and primarily they are focusing on anti-Muslim or anti-Pakistan. Two things that emerged during our research was two interesting things. Number one, OTHC and PSB. OTHC means our time has come, and PSB means planning something. So this was not in BJP's political rhetoric earlier, but now these two terminologies are frequently used in domestic politics. And I'll tell you about PSB later on. Next slide, please. Again, this is a repetition. Again, next, please. Okay, so we thought that let's look into the appreciation factor in Indian politics about the BJP's so far, what they have, got the appreciation, and on which basis actually the masses are basically appreciating PM Modi or BJP itself. So we actually focused on we crunched around 2.2 million tweets data of PM Modi, and then all the BJP national leadership, then the national spokesperson of BJP's, and on their tweets there are several thousand comments. So we actually collected that data and converted into our this graph, and found out very interesting responses. So if you look at the appreciation level, you will find out that majority of the people are basically appreciating, or the BJP supporters are appreciating BJP because of the vibrant and progressive economy. The second most important point was the effective foreign policy. That was 19%. So these two factors are predominantly very much high in the appreciation factor. Interestingly, the Ram Temple and the CAA, they are not as much high in terms of appreciation as they should be. But if you club the Hindutva project that we have, the CAA, empowering Hindu, and Ram Temple, so if you club these three factors, then it makes around 43%. So it means that Hindutva politics still relevant in BJP's overall tenure. So people do appreciate Hindutva politics, at least at the online Twitter. Next slide, please. Then we thought that let's look at further demands. So what people are demanding to the overall public, and these demands actually convert into thought process of the political leadership, and ultimately this thought process converts into policies. So we tried to find out again through the Twitter that how the BJP supporters are demanding and what kind of demands they have, and you will find out that UCC is the primary demand that these people have. The second most important thing that we would have repercussions was the secure UNSC permanent membership. But relevant to Pakistan was 2 points. Number one, revise or revoke unjust Indus-Water Treaty on Indian terms, and second was the take back POK. So this was something that the demand was there. So if you club these things, both of them, you will find out that it makes around third largest demand of BJP supporters. Next slide. So I was talking about PSB, planning something big. This was the term that first time used by Anna Malai in Kerala in 2021, December 2021. But it could not get any attraction at that time. But last year, Prime Minister Modi used this terminology in Lok Sabha speech. And after that, all the national spokesperson of BJP as well as the national leadership, union ministers, they also talked about this planning something big connotation. So they tried to actually garner support based on this terminology, planning something big. That you should give us something, you should give us a very strong mandate so that what we are planning could be achieved easily. So we thought that let's look at what kind of their plans might be. So planning something big means that anything that has not been happened in the modern history of India. So next slide. Okay. So these three things are basically has not been happened to modern India yet. Number one, UNSC permanent membership. I know Pakistan has done a lot diplomatically in past 2 decades to stop India to become the permanent member of UNSC. But still, can it be done in next 5 years or 10 years? Again, there's a question might be relevant to Ambassador Narman asked. The second thing that has not been happened is about the expansion of land. You see, in the modern history of India, they, despite having all the national power that they have, they could not expand their land. So, two areas are there which are, I think, controversial right now. Number one, AJK. Forget about GDP because that has a China factor, so they won't be able to do that. So, number one, AJK. And number two, recently you must have heard about the debate about the Sri Lankan island before the election campaign that was started. And it was interestingly started by the External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, and then it was replicated by others, especially Rajnath Singh and Prime Minister Modi itself. So they are talking about that we need to expand our land, the land that had been actually given by Congress to others should be taken back. So there might be some kind of a thing. Obviously, let's look at the next thing, and that is about the amendment in the Constitution. Can you go back for a couple of slides? Thus, you know, there was another interesting demand here: declaration of Ram Rajya, the state of Ram. So this was also a demand. Agli slide pe aa jaiye. So there is a demand that Prime Minister Modi in his next term, agli slide pe aa, in his next term should announce India as a Ram Rajya. So it could be done through the amendment in the Constitution. So would it be happen? It depends on the numbers that they will have. 362 is the magical number, and so far after the last 4th and 5th phase, it is quite evident that they won't be able to secure this magical figure of 362. But if they will be able to do that, then this Ram Rajya or amendment in the Constitution can be happen. So these are the points that I wanted to make. Thank you so much.